What's up guys, Dave here from Knives, Gadgets and More, and today we're going to compare these two knives. Let's go! Alright guys, so as you can see here we have the CJRB Feldspar and the Civivi Elementum. And let me start off by saying that both of these knives are awesome. I did buy both and I'm happy that I did, because I think both are cool little knives to have in my collection. On top of that, they're both fairly affordable, and I think this is kind of a good comparison between these two different companies and these kind of classic knives. Now that being said, we are going to compare the two today in several different categories, and then at the very end I'm going to tell you which one of these two is my favorite, and I'll tell you exactly why. So let's start by going over the blade steel that you get. With the CJRB Feldspar, you can see right here that you're getting D2 steel, which is a very good steel for an affordable knife. I love D2 steel. It's super strong, holds an edge well, and it's going to perform very, very well on top of that. So excellent choice for the Feldspar. You're getting that D2, which is a very good thing in my opinion. Now with the Elementum, you're also getting D2 steel, or at least this one is. So again, great steel, super strong, it's going to hold up, it's going to cut well, it's going to perform. I really like D2 steel in these more affordable folding knives, and yeah, I think it was a great choice by Civivi as well. So obviously both these knives have D2 blade steel, so it's going to be a draw when we're comparing the two in terms of the steel that you get. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the blade shape. The blade shape on the Feldspar is kind of a classic drop point. It does come to a very extreme point at the end, and I think the grind is a flat grind. It cuts very, very well. I think it looks cool, and I think it has kind of a stone wash finish, which is going to be a little bit more matted than the polished look that you get with the Elementum. Now with the Elementum, you also have a drop point, but the grind on this one is going to be a hollow grind, and it also performs very, very well in terms of cutting tasks. It doesn't come to the same kind of point that the Feldspar does at the end, but it's certainly pointy enough, and like I said, it cuts very, very well. Now comparing the two blades, they are both drop points, but they're kind of different looking, and they both cut really well, so it really comes down to a personal preference thing. Out of the two, I like the way both look, but I think in terms of more uniqueness, I'm going to give the edge to the Feldspar just in terms of the way the blade looks, because like I said, they both cut really, really well. That being said, I do also like the way the Elementum looks, and honestly the winner in terms of looks would probably change with me depending on the day that I'm talking about these two knives. So I don't know, which one do you think looks better? Let me know in the comments and we can kind of talk about that. Next, let's talk about the scales. The scales on these two knives are very different. So with the Feldspar, you have G10, and the G10 is not super smooth. There is a little bit of texture, and they do have good grippiness. They feel good in your hand. Very comfortable grips. You can see that it's also fairly thin, which makes it sit in your pocket easier when you're carrying it around for everyday carry. And I really like the denim color that I got this particular knife in, because I just think it looks unique. There's not many knives I've seen that have this color handle, and overall I think it's a very good handle. Feels great, gives you a good grip on the knife, and looks cool at the same time. Now the handle on the Elementum is also very good, but it's very different. You can see the scales on the Elementum are super thin, and that doesn't mean that they feel bad in your hand. They actually feel great. They're very comfortable. This knife is very comfortable to hold and use. It does have some jimping, whereas the Feldspar does not, which gives you a little bit of extra grip. And even though this knife is just as comfortable in your hand as the Feldspar, it is thinner. And that thinness is going to make it carry really, really well in your pocket. On top of that, the G10 is slightly textured, and it gives you a good grip. So yeah, overall, I do really like the scales that come on the Elementum. Now, which handle, which scales do I think is better? I actually will give the edge to the Elementum. I think it feels just as good as the Feldspar, but I like that it's a little bit thinner, And yeah, I really enjoy the grip on this knife. It actually surprises me how much I ended up liking the grip on this knife, because there's just something about it that sets it apart and gives it a great feel of quality when you're holding it. So yeah, in terms of handles, the winner is going to be the Elementum, but both of these knives do have a comfortable handle. Alright, now let's talk about the locking mechanism. As you can see with the Feldspar, it is a liner lock, so to close the blade, you just go like that. And then when you want to deploy the blade, you have thumb studs on both sides. So you just gotta flick it open with your thumb, or you can slowly open it as well. The deployment on the Feldspar is very smooth, which is kind of a must for me these days, even on these affordable knives. And yeah, I think the locking mechanism and the deployment on this knife are very good. Let's check for wiggle. No wiggle. Let's check the alignment real quick. Pretty good. But yeah, it deploys nicely, it deploys smoothly, and I really don't have any complaints with it. Now the Elementum is also a liner lock, so again, to close the blade, just flip it to the side, and then to deploy the Elementum you do have a flipper and no thumb studs, so you just flick it open with your finger. And when you deploy it, it is super smooth. It really is just buttery. And I can find myself playing with this knife all day if I'm just there sitting around. So I don't know what it is about these Civivis, but I love the way they deploy. They're very smooth, they're buttery smooth, and they just feel great when you deploy them. Now let's check for wiggle. No wiggle. Let's check for alignment. Alignment looks pretty good. So when we're talking about deployment, both of these knives have a good smooth deployment, but I am going to give the win to the Elementum. I love the way these Civivi knives deploy. They're super buttery smooth, and it's just super fun. I don't know what else I could say. Alright, the next thing we'll talk about is the clip. So with the Feldspar, you do have a good clip right here. It is a deep carry clip, which I like, and it sets you up for tip up carry. It is easily swappable to the other side if that's what you want to do. And yeah, I think it's a great clip. Deep carry, tip up, swappable to the other side. Now the Civivi's clip is also very good. It's also a deep carry clip, and it has these cutouts which maybe save a tiny bit of weight. It sets you up for tip up carry. And on this one, it's not reversible to the other side. Both of these knives do have lanyard loops if that's something you want to do, but I also want to show you what they actually look like when they're sitting in your pocket. So let's do that now. And there you go. Deep carry clips, so they both kind of disappear. Both of these knives are very comfortable to carry around in your pocket all day. One thing I will say though is the Feldspar is just a little bit more bulky because the scales are not as thin, and the Civivi Elementum is super comfortable to carry just because of how thin those scales are that I showed you earlier. But both of them are great, both have a good clip, and both of them are pretty easy to carry around all day. So which of these two knives has the better clip arrangement? Well, they're both deep carry, but the Feldspar can be swapped to the other side, whereas the Elementum cannot. So I'm gonna give the win to the Feldspar. Alright, now let's talk about the size of these two knives. So sitting them side by side when the blade is closed, they're about the same. I mean, any difference in terms of length is gonna be unnoticeable, so yeah, they're about the same. Now again, the Elementum is going to be a little bit thinner, which will make it more comfortable to carry in your pocket. But even though that's the case, the Feldspar is a very easy knife and comfortable knife to carry around too. It's just that I love the thinness of the scales on the Elementum. Now when you do deploy the blades, Again, it looks like they're about the same size. Maybe you've got just a touch more overall length with the Feldspar, but again, it's not going to be a big difference. It's not even going to be noticeable. And if you're trying to decide which of these two knives is going to be more compact, I'd basically say it's a draw. I mean, you can see they're both about the same. Alright, and that brings us to the end of this comparison. And I told you before that I'm going to tell you which of these two knives I actually prefer. Now again, both of these knives are great, affordable knives. I bought both of them. I'm happy that I bought both of them. But these comparisons are fun to do, and they might help someone who's trying to decide just between these two. But all of that being said, my favorite out of these two knives is the Civivi Elementum. I love the Feldspar, but I'm gonna give the win to the Elementum. I love this knife, and honestly, I like it a lot more than I ever thought I would, even when I bought it. This knife just gives off an extra feeling of quality, and I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it's because it's super lightweight or thin. I honestly don't know why I like this knife so much, but it really impressed me as soon as I got it and started handling it. I will say this, that I do prefer the flipper and the buttery smooth deployment on the Elementum, but the Feldspar does still have good deployment too. But yeah, the deployment on the Civivi Elementum is just a little bit better in my opinion, and I don't know, I think that's one of the reasons why I give it the win out of these two knives. So my pick of the two is the Elementum. I honestly never expected that when I bought these two. I actually expected that it would be the Feldspar, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Give me your reasons. Now, if you're looking at either of these two knives and want to pick one up, I will leave links to these knives in the description below. Those are affiliate links and they do help out the channel. Other than that, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next video. See ya.